What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 10-7 MMA show. And we are back. Sorry, just making sure my background music is off. We are back with another episode, and we got so many things to talk about in the world of mixed martial arts, specifically with the UFC. And yeah, there was a ton of fights that were just announced. And I thought we could hold on. I'm just making sure our live stream's good here. Just thought we could start and chat a little bit about some of these announcements, namely one announcement that involves one of your teammates with the next middleweight championship bout. So, yeah, Justin, first of all, how are you? How's everything?
Doing the best, man. Just did a hunt out in Oklahoma. Had an incredible time. Ready to get back to the grind, get back to training. Today, actually, be my first day of training since my fight. So I'm excited to get back in there and work with the guys.
Amazing. Okay, so let's talk middleweight and let's talk Sean Strickland. This is insane. I think this just got announced a couple hours ago. They were talking about in the MMA Hour. Sean Strickland's fighting Dricus du Plessis, and I did not see that coming. I thought they were going to pair him up against Hamzat. My assumption is Hamzat's hand injury kept him out, or maybe it was pressure from the fans. What are your thoughts on this fight? Do you like it? What do you think?
I love this fight for Sean, man. I think I just saw the announcement this morning. We probably saw it at the same time. Sean is he's very, very hard to take down. And I know, I know his opponent's kind of awkward, kind of goofy, but I honestly think this is an incredible matchup for Sean. I see him walking him down, talking shit. And, it's going to frustrate his opponent. I think he's going to get in his head. And I actually think Sean's going to finish him probably in the second or the third round. I don't think this is going to go to decision. Sean's too much of a power puncher. His wrestling defense is really, really good. I don't think people understand how good his defense is. His grappling is fucking incredible. I mean, this is a guy that's wrestling and grappling every day. And, you never really see in his fights because he just kind of walks guys down and beats on them. And I really think that's what's going to happen in this fight. I think he's going to try and walk him down. I think his opponent's going to try to take him down, maybe have some unorthodox striking in there. But I think Sean's going to weather all that and knock him out in the third, maybe the third, fourth round.
It's such a fun fight to me. I'm actually a big fan of Dricus. Actually, you're the only one that was calling for Dricus to beat. You felt strongly that at least Dricus du Plessis had a really good chance against Robert Whittaker. You were like, he always finds a way to win. That was you. I thought he had no chance. So this is I know you know about him, and I know you like him and you like his fighting style. But yeah, I feel God, man. I don't know what to really think about it. It's such an interesting matchup because of that awkward nature. And I guess I didn't really believe in Dricus too much, but I apologize. He is the man. He's earned his stripes and he earned this title shot. So I can't wait to see this. There's another big fight announcement. By the way, we're just doing some recaps of fight announcements, and Western Mass Climbers on again, saying 10-7. Thank you, man. You've been right there with us. We're still getting our groove going on. We're meaning to do Mondays and Fridays, but Justin was out of town this weekend, and we're back on it, and we're gonna keep pumping out more content because this is so much fun. But the other big fight they just announced is what's it called? Chito Vera versus Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley's on the MMA Hour today. What are your thoughts on that fight?
Man, it's a great matchup. I'm a big Cheeto fan. You know who Sean O'Malley's really grown on me. Aljamain Sterling being my teammate, I thought there was no chance that Sean O'Malley could beat him, let alone put him away the way he did. I really thought Aljo was going to grind him to a good win or finish him. But, Sean O'Malley's won me over, dude. I'm on the Sean O'Malley train. Yeah, his momentum is coming in there now. Cheeto, the only guy to technically really beat Sean. Now he gets his rematch. They've been talking about it since the first fight. Sean O'Malley still says he's undefeated. Chito Vera says another thing. I think this is an incredible matchup. Now, we talk about momentum. Sean O'Malley has all the momentum coming off this beautiful knockout victory against Aljamain Sterling. Is he going to keep that momentum going against Chito? If there's a guy that can do it, it's going to be Chito. He's going to start, I really think he's going to go attacks with a lot of leg kicks, and fuck him up like he did the first time. But with that being said, we're riding the hype train right now. I'm on the Sean O'Malley hype train. I think Sean O'Malley beats him this time.
Oh, you think Sean's favorite? Interesting. I can't wait. I don't really know. I'm so curious to see it, but I can't wait for that fight.
After how he looked against, Aljamain, and it just blew my mind. Like, I just thought there was
Yes.
no way. If I was going to bet that fight, I'm putting every dollar I have on Aljamain. I just didn't see a way he could do it. You know, I knew he probably evade some takedowns, but Aljamain's grappling and wrestling is some of the best in the world. And Sean made him look elementary when it came to that. You know, he was able to defend him relatively with ease, and then to put him away with one shot, man. We're talking about the hype train. Sean O'Malley's been bringing this hype train for years. I never bought into it. I never was, you know, buying what he was selling, but I'm on the bandwagon now. I think Sean O'Malley's the man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan. You know what's really interesting about Sean that I love that makes me feel more and more confident in him, regardless of the striking and the skills that we've seen displayed in that amazing performance. Is like I feel that he's so dialed in. He's always talking about meditation. He was talking about meditation today, his meditation routine, the way he calms and quiets his mind is phenomenal. His nutrition. He always says that he's the greatest sleeper in the UFC. Nobody sleeps as well as him, and he takes a lot of pride in that. And there's so many amazing physicians that talk about sleep. And if you look at the health pyramid, right, of nutrition, exercise, and sleep, sleep is number one. And he prides himself in being an expert of sleep. So I feel like he takes great care and attention to really keep his body operating in peak performance. And that gives me a big vote of confidence. His psychology is so solid. But Cheeto, if you go from this, and that's one of my favorite, most interesting ways to look at all these fights. Cheeto's mentality is so strong too. He's such a positive guy. Both two fighters that I really like. That's one of the unfortunate things about the fight, but it is what it is. Somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. So that's super exciting. Okay, I want to turn it over to the first topic of discussion that I want to talk with you about, which is the Ariel versus Chael recap. So they had a little bit of a spat on the MMA Hour last Wednesday. And I know this type of stuff isn't your thing. You're more into obviously like the real stuff, like the actual fights and whatnot. But I do love me a little bit of drama. And it was pretty dramatic. So I just want to get your thoughts again from the fighter perspective. So here's what I saw. They were talking about the Francis Ngannou fight. They had, and by the way, I'm going to just mute you until you talk. There's a little bit of background noise, so I'm just going to mute the mic. But there was a little bit of back and forth, and really it comes down to this, right? We look at the UFC's position in general on the Francis Ngannou fight, and there's only so much that they can do and they can say in terms of supporting the fight. And I get that. I understand that bias exists, and that's coming from a business standpoint. They're not going to sit there and praise the boxing match, even though generally I think, regardless of the pay-per-view sales, it was a massive success, huge win for Francis, right? And I think that's what Chael was kind of talking about. And Ariel was really pushing him to admit on his show that he was wrong about the Francis fight, wrong about so many things, and which I felt like was a little bit unfair. And just what's the point? Why was he doing that? And Chael, understandably so, got upset. It got real heated. He ended up calling Ariel a weasel. He ended up threatening to choke Ariel out. There's apparently, according to the MMA Hour today, they've all worked it out and it's fine. But it was really, really entertaining. I think he got like 600,000 views that segment. But like here, coming back to it, look, the main thing that I wanted to ask you about is Chael was going on and saying if Francis would have accepted the UFC deal initially, had the fights, beat John Jones in the perfect world, right? He's like, he would have made just as much money, blah, blah, blah. That was his standpoint. Now, do I really think Chael really, really believes that? I mean, I don't. But I think he also has to stay true to his alliances at the UFC and so on and so forth. But just playing devil's advocate, what is your thoughts about an argument like that where, hey, had he gone in, had he fought John Jones back in the day, had he stayed in the UFC, you know, and the last thing I'll say is Ariel's taking a lot of credit for Francis's move. But outside of the team, outside of Eric Nixick, outside of his striking coach, Dewey Cooper, outside of all these guys that knew what he could do, who could have predicted? Like, it's not bad advice to say back then he should have stayed in the UFC. He took the biggest gamble I've ever, and it just doesn't even make sense that it worked. It worked because he obviously is like a fight genius, but like it wasn't bad advice. Anyways, turning it over to you. What do you think about Chael's sentiment on all that?
You know, like you said, his alliance to the UFC is never going to say it was the right move for him to move away from the UFC. Now, think about it. Boxing, you have to focus on just your hands and your boxing conditioning, 30 minutes or 10 3-minute rounds. I mean, dude, I think he did the right thing. I think moving on, and, and I don't think he did it blindly either. I think he knew that. I think there was stuff in the works when he did part from the UFC, and he knew it because people aren't just going to blindly just leave a paycheck like that. So I think he had other people tell him, hey, look, let's get some boxing. We'll get 10 million to box, 20 million. I think is what he ended up getting. So with that being said, I think boxing is a much easier sport than MMA because of, you're throwing hands. I'm not saying guys can't get fucked up, obviously, from getting punched. Of course they can. But it's just fuck. If I could go and make $100,000 boxing, MMA, see you later, man. Don't have to worry about wrestling. Don't have to get my limbs broke. Don't have to worry about fucking wrestling and grappling. All I have to go in there and worry about getting knocked out. And at the end of the day, for the kind of money he's making, I'm sure he wasn't afraid to get knocked out.
The thing that I keep coming back to is, I get that. But like, they really knew that they had a chance to win. That's the part that I still can't get my head around. It's like, again, if we go back to that analogy of a table tennis player having his debut fight against whoever, I don't know tennis players, but whoever the best tennis player in the world is, and coming in and expecting to win, it's ludicrous. And like, that's what everybody was saying, which is the logical sentiment. But that's why I still can't get my head around it. But Francis knew, and like, I get that Francis knew, and I get that his close teammates knew, but how anybody else could know, it just seems impossible.
And at the end of the day, you can never really know until it goes in there. I mean, people can say that they know, and there's people that say that, it could have went other way. It's, if he goes in there and gets knocked out, everyone's going to say, well, I knew. You know what I mean? Now that he's closer, everyone's, I knew that was going to happen. It's like, all right, if you knew that was going to happen, how much money did you put on it? Like, yeah. And that's what it comes down to for me. Hey, money talks, man. All those guys. I mean, how many podcasts are there, that are trying to do what we're doing? That, I know this was going to happen. I knew this was going to happen, dude. I mean, it's just like when Anderson Silva lost to Chris Weidman the first time. I knew that was going to happen. I knew Chris was going to knock him out. All right, well, how much money do you? Because if I tell you what, if I knew Chris Weidman was going to knock out Anderson Silva the first time they met, and I knew it, like, it's a fact, I'm putting my house on it. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? So for all these people that say that they knew and or didn't know, it's all bullshit. I mean, people may have ideas, and sometimes they work out, and a lot of times they don't.
Western Mass Climber saying the Saudis big league the UFC. Here's the other thing too.
Who's even, not to interrupt you, I have 1% battery left on my phone, so if I cut out, it's going to take me a couple minutes to get restarted.
Go. You can go ahead and get a charger if you need to.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and talk.
Because I want to talk about that real quick. So, like, this is the interesting thing about what the Saudis did, and I think it's amazing what they did. But like, at the end of the day, I'm such a fan of the UFC, and I think realistically, if you're a fight fan, you have to be a fan of the UFC. The production they put on, the fights they arrange, the consistency at which they have amazing content. I'm just such a big fan. I'm not one of those guys that's anti-UFC. I'm not one of those guys, and I think Justin's on the same page with me. I'm not one of those guys that harps on them about specific things like Fighter Pig, and I'll be honest, because I don't feel like I know the full business model, and I feel like I'm pretty open and honest about that in terms of, hey, what are their marketing expenses? I think their marketing budget must be huge because they're still trying to grow the sport. That's the difference between them and the NFL and other fight organizations. Now, it may be that they could be giving more money to the fighters and they're just not. I don't know. But I could also see them having a lot of expenses that other organizations don't have to deal with. But anyways, my point is, I love the UFC. I think it's cool that the Saudis are coming in and putting on these big shows. But at the end of the day, man, me personally, now a lot of people think this is probably impossible. I've been asking MMA Guru, Jesse on Fire, all these guys are saying it's like 0.5% chance or less. But in my dream world, man, I would love to see Francis. I would love to see Francis back in the UFC. I'm sure maybe you don't agree with me, but dude, I want to see him fight John Jones. I would lose my mind.
I'm on the same page as you with that, just to let you know. I absolutely would love that. I'm not getting a charge. What is going on here? Sorry.
No, it's all good. But yeah, if at that it's not a good thing. Yeah, like Western Mass Climber said, he's like, it's not a good thing in my opinion. I mean, it might not be actually if you think about it, because they're not playing by the same rules. Meaning they don't have budgets. They're not necessarily even. It's such a long-term investment for them because they seemingly have lots of cash to burn. So it's like when you don't have to play by those basic rules of economics, and you're sort of doing things that just don't make sense, but you can pull it off because you have such a big budget. If you think about all the celebrities and the people and the buzz that they generated over this fight, regardless of all this, but the UFC, they're doing it from basically within a free market system. And so therefore they're kind of always doing things that fight fans want and that fight fans are excited about. So in the perfect world, here's what I'm thinking. This is what I'm hoping, but I don't know if this would ever happen. And I know UFC would not do a co-promotion with PFL. I know that's not going to happen. It's too risky because if John Jones loses, I mean, I get it. And I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. I just don't think they'll do it. But in my perfect dream world, this is enough and maybe this is PFL's endgame. Who knows, or what they would be open to. UFC acquires them, gets Francis back. puts on the fight. John Jones versus Francis Ngannou, greatest pay-per-view seller of all time.
I mean, I think it'd be incredible. That's believe it or not, I don't buy pay-per-view for the most part, and that is definitely a pay-per-view I would buy. I'm having difficulty charging over here.
You're good. You're good. Don't worry about it.
Phone dies.
Yeah, no worries. We'll just pop back on. But here's the thing, if you look at the end of the day, the UFC, and I love Dana White, I'm a huge fan of his, but at the end of the day, the UFC is not Dana White. The UFC is the shareholders, the UFC is the fans. The UFC at the end of the day should make, that's what they've always stood by, is they want to make the biggest fights. And look, again, what I'm proposing may not be realistic at all in terms of the budget, but if they get to it, forget about the personal, forget about all that nonsense. If it's feasible, I think it should be done, and it would be, oh my God, incredible. Okay, let's jump into our other two topics. I want to go over UFC 295 before I have to jump off. So first, let's talk about the co-main event. What a co-main event. Holy smokes. Aspinall versus Pavlovich. And I have been trying to figure out I know who I'm going to pick. But I, as always, I listen to a lot of other folks here. Let me just mute this because I'm getting background noise. I always listen to a lot of other fighters and also fight analysts in terms of who they're picking and why to help formulate my opinion. But yeah, I don't know. It seems to be the consensus. And I also am a big fan of Aspinall and watched all of his fights. But he's just such a well-rounded fighter. I think he's the new breed of heavyweight coming up in the UFC. I'm leaning towards Aspinall, but I think the fight's going to be amazing. Where do you stand, Justin?
I really like Pavlovich here. I'm not a big Aspinall fan, not for any reason in particular. He just hasn't really caught my attention with anything spectacular yet. Pavlovich's been around, man. He's been in some wars. He's been in some really tough fights. I think he's the guy right now. I think he's going to run through Tom pretty easily. Actually, let me take that back. I don't think he's going to beat him easily, but I think he's going to squeak this one out.
Interesting. Okay, you know who Pavlovich used to train with, by the way? I just found this out today.
Who's that?
What's it called? The head coach of Habib, Javier Mendez.
Javier Mendez over at Top Team.
What's it called? American Kickboxing.
American Top Team.
American Top Team. Yeah, I think it's top. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Or is it American Kickboxing Academy? Depending, but I'm pretty sure it's ATT.
I think it's AKA. I think it's
AKA American Kickboxing Association. There's AKA ATT. Like there's
Javier Mendez. I'm gonna Google it real quick. American. It is. American Kickboxing Academy, AKA. So he used to train with Pavlovich, and he talked about him in an interview today, how amazing he is. And he used to train back with DC, and he also used to train with Cain Velasquez.
Yeah.
So he's known for a long time, thinks very highly of him. Obviously, he's picking him in the fight, I think that just kind of goes with the territory of training it with him and working with him. But and I think MMA Guru is also picking Pavlovich. But I'm kind of, I don't know. I think I would be. It's going to be such a fun fight, and I'm cool with whoever wins, and I love both of them. But I think I would like to see Tom Aspinall win.
Sure.
That'd be exciting. Okay, let's jump ahead. We got 5 minutes left before I have to jump off. And Western Mass Climbers choosing Pavlovich. So
yeah, let's go Western Mass. Let's go.
Right there,
he knows better.
Right there with you, yeah. So let's jump to the main event. Man, I'm extraordinarily excited about this fight, and yeah. Well, before I say anything, who do you got? Pereira versus Jiri.
I think Pereira is just going to be levels above Jiri. I mean, Jiri is an incredible kickboxer, but after watching his last fight when he fought for the championship against what's his name, the 45-year-old dude, and when he fought Glover, like I thought Jiri was going to kill him. There was all this hype behind him, how great this guy is, and he's the next big thing. He has the craziest hair. His hair was fucking awesome, and I was on the hype train. I was like, man, Yuri's just gonna. I mean, Glover's old, man. He's in his mid-40s, fighting for a UFC championship, and to see the Glover to beat him, and then a friend of mine go out there and just smash Glover, Jamal Hill. Former UFC champ now, as a good friend from Michigan as well, grew up on the amateur scene. To see what Jamal did to Glover after what Glover did to Jiri, I think Pereira just fucking cleans Jiri out, man. I think I had a really high hope for him early on, just with how dynamic he was. I think Glover exposed him, and I think Pereira's going to try and knock him out. I shouldn't say I don't think he's going to try. Of course he's going to try, but I just think that Pereira's striking is going to be it's going to triumph. And watch out for that left hook. He's Pereira's going to get hit going to hit Jiri with that left hook and put him to sleep.
By the way, Glover's only 1 year older than me, so let's
Damn, dog. Are you starting
Yeah.
your MMA career though? Come on. How old is Glover? How old is Glover?
44. Yeah,
44. Dude, man, you're the youngest 43-year-old I've ever met. Shit.
Yeah, true. So, but I think most people are picking Pereira as well, and I gotta say, oh, sorry, one sec. I gotta say, Pavlovich can knock out that Polish British weak knee man. Oh my God, Western Mass Climber is not a fan of Aspinall. Jeez, no, but man, I don't know. How can you not like Aspinall? He's such a legendary personality. But let's come back to Jiri versus Pereira. MMA Guru saying that Pereira is going to catch him with the left hook. I don't know the specific shot. I don't even know how you make predictions like that. He's so specific, but he's really, really smart with his predictions. But yeah, I don't know. I think that most people are leaning towards Pereira. I am as well. That superior kickboxing, just so superior. So I think it's going to be exciting. And what a story. I'm in it for I love the stories. That's why Francis versus Jones is so exciting to me after everything Francis has been through. Imagine that story of Pereira coming in after beating Izzy, then winning the championship after barely any fights, and then now going up and winning it. I mean, it's so exciting and interesting. That's why I'm rooting for Pereira. He's not the one thing I can say that isn't my favorite thing, and it's just me as a fight fan. I like to hear guys when they can speak in English because I really can feel like I get a glimpse of their personality, I can connect with them, and that's my favorite part. But it's this would be my only thing. But other than that, I'm so fascinated by him. I love his fight style, and I'm a huge fan. So I think it's going to happen, and I can't wait to see it.
Sure.
All right. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's a great matchup. I really see Jiri. If Jiri really wanted to, go off, because everyone's talking about this fight, and talking about this striking battle. Jiri being very dynamic, Pereira being such a high level striker. What if Jiri comes out and tries to wrestle him? Why doesn't everybody throw a wrench in the gears here? And his coach is like, hey, you know what? We're going to wrestle this motherfucker. This is an MMA fight. This isn't a boxing match. This isn't a kickboxing match. We're going to come out, show our striking, and we're going to transition wrestling, put him up on the cage, maybe gas him out a little bit. If I was in Jiri's corner, that might be something that I want to look into. Again, I don't know Jiri's training. I don't know how much he wrestles or how much he grapples. But when you're fighting the best fighters in the UFC, you have to have knowledge of wrestling. You have to have knowledge of grappling. And, if you could catch everybody off guard, Jiri goes in there and gets a takedown in the first round, really set the pace there where, make Pereira, because, at the end of the day, we know that Pereira's not going to try to take him down. Pretty much we know that. Why would he when he has such dynamic and powerful striking? But Jiri, on the other hand, dude, after watching what Glover did to him, it's like, why don't we throw a wrench in the gears and really throw, a wild game plan and try and take this guy down to the ground?
So just last thing, and then I actually have to jump off right now. But last thing, who do you think is better wrestling, Jiri or Jan Blachowicz?
I'll be honest, I have no idea. I don't know how good the wrestling is either way, but I know watching their fights that they're not looking to wrestle. So if I'm looking to fight a striker, and all he wants to do is strike, I'm going to look to take him down. And that's what both of these guys are looking to do. So let's see which coach develops the better game plan for the style. They might just see a hole. They're such high-level kickboxers, and their coaches are so high-level. They might see a hole in their striking that they're looking to exploit. Just looking at it on a paper standpoint, they're both high-level striking. I'd like to see somebody mix in the wrestling.
All right. Well, there we have it, guys. I have a hard stop at 3. I got to jump off. Western Mass Climber said I'm rooting for Jiri. He just wanted me to make that clear. So, all right, let's see what happens. I got Pereira. I think Justin does too. But it's gonna be an amazing fight. Love Jiri as well. All right, guys. We will see you on Friday. Thank you all so much for joining, and we'll see you in the next video. Take it easy. Okay, hold on.